So dear students, so today our topic is nervous system. So as you know, the nervous system, so they are mainly control the functions of the all the body or all the body organs, so they are work as direction given by the nervous systems. Anything simple, if you want to take the inspiration or expiration, so that was only directed by the nervous system except only the heart. So heart it can beat individually due to presence of the special pacemaker cell that is located in the SC node. But apart from the heart, each and every organ function, so that was mainly depending upon the nervous system. So that is the importance of the nervous system. Any problem in the CNS, then the organs will be the malfunctions. For example, so during the stressful life or depression, okay, so those people they will be having the stressful life or depression and as well as anxiety and fear, and such people only, so they are suffering from the various kind of disease including diabetes mellitus, cancers or hypertension or high blood pressure. Because so where the nervous system was failed to homeostasis, that is the balancing of the internal environment, nothing but only the compositions of blood, also whatever the functions of their of the body or organ functions are there, so those are also normalized by a homeostasis system. That was the monitor or the main component is a nervous system. So due to stress or any other reason, the nervous system failed to concentrate, okay, especially our nervous system fail to concentrate what will be happens in our body, okay, so that's why it can neglect or it is uncontrolled. So during the uncontrolledness by a nervous system, then only we are suffering from the various kind of disorders, okay. So that's why the nervous system is the main system that was helpful for to control the functions of the all the body organs or all the systems. And nervous systems only is there, it was helpful for to involved in the communications. Now question is, so how the nervous systems can control, so on the organ functions. So dear students, the nervous systems can control the organ functions with the help of the nerves, okay, and with the help of the endocrine hormones or with the help of the neurotransmitters or with the help of the neuromodulators. So nerves are there, maybe cholinergic, that is parasympathetic nerve fibers are there, sympathetic nerve fibers are there, or enteric nervous system fibers are there, or somatic nervous system fibers are there. So these are the fibers, these are the nerves. So they are origins or originated or begins from the CNS and end in the organs, okay. So whatever the changes need into the body, so that was message was generated in the brain. So with the help of these nervous systems, that is cholinergic, adrenergic, then dopaminergic, histaminergic or somatic nervous systems, so with the help of them it can control the organ functions. So that is regarding the nerves or nervous system. And second one regarding the endocrine hormones, okay. So the endocrine hormones, especially, so many hormones are there, especially the growth hormones are FSH, LSH, TSH. So these all hormones are secreted from the anterior pituitary gland, and anterior pituitary gland function was controlled by the brain or nervous system, or the anterior and posterior pituitary gland function and their secretion is mainly depending upon the nervous system or cerebral cortex. So that's why through the hormones, then also the nervous system it can control the functions of the each and every hormone. They will be having a unique message, okay, according to that message only. So when the hormone reaches to the organ or towards the metabolic cell, according to that hormones, so that organs are work to start. And certain neurotransmitters are there. The neurotransmitters are nothing but these are the special type of chemicals, so those are secreted from the nervous system or neuron, okay. They are synthesized in the neuron, they are secreted from the neurons itself. Okay, and those chemical substances, so those are involved in the transmissions of the impulses regarding the informations. Okay, they are involved in the transmissions of the informations. Okay, such chemical substances are known as the neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are nothing but, so these are special chemicals, they are found in our body, especially they are synthesized in the neurons. Okay, they are stored in the neuron, so they are secreted from the neuron itself, and these chemical substances, so those are involved in the transmissions of the impulses. Okay, so those are involved in the transmissions of the messages from brain to the different part of the body. So then that was helpful for to organ gather that information. For example, acetylcholines. Okay, so when acetylcholine releases from the CNS, especially from the hypothalamus, so that acetylcholine reaches to the organ. So when it reaches to the organ, so all the glands, so those are involved in the secretions of their secretion regarding the lacrimals, regarding the GIT. So many whatever secretions are there, so they all are secreted when the neurotransmitter like acetylcholine is releases. Okay, another neurotransmitters like a noradrenalines. So when the noradrenaline is secreted, so all the organs are arousals, are alert. And as well as if the noradrenaline reaches to the blood vessels and heart, then heart rate is increases as well as the blood pressure is increases. So during the emergency only, the nervous systems, so that can release the noradrenaline where it is required to increase the blood pressure. And also in the daytime it's secreted more to keep the person arousal. If it is fail, then we are suffering from the drowsiness and as well as the sleep. So that's why the nervous systems is also control, our brain can control the functions of our body organs, so with the help of the neurotransmitters. So neuromodulators, so they are not synthesized from the neuron, so they are synthesized from the that is certain tissues of the brain, but they are involved in the transmissions of messages like a neurotransmitters. Okay, and such substances are known as the neuromodulators. So with the help of these all substances, nervous systems can control the functions of the or body organ. So now we learn regarding the introduction to the our nervous systems. So dear students, the nervous system, it is one of the main systems. It was involved in the to coordinate the different organs. Okay, or it can control the its behavior of the organs, or it can insist to them work in the unique directions, and also it can transmit the signals in the form of the information from different part of the bodies. So that is the work of the nervous system. So in the vertebra, so the nervous systems mainly consist of two part, that is central nervous systems, also denoted as the CNS, and PNS, that is the peripheral nervous system. So like that, our nervous systems is mainly divided into two parts. That is central nervous system, that is the entire brain. Then the peripheral nervous system. So this is apart from the brain. So that is spinal cord, cranial nerves are there. Okay, parasympathetic nerves are there. Sympathetic nerves are there. Somatic system is there, or even autonomic nervous system there, or even enteric nervous system. So all the nerves, nerve fibers or neurons, neuralgia, so they are comes under the peripheral nervous systems. The brain and spinal cord, it can comes under the central nervous system. So with the help of these two component, our nervous system can control the body organ functions. So CNS, it mainly consists of brain and as well as the spinal cord. So brain is the one of the main part, it is mainly located in the skull. So the brain, it was helpful for to gather the information from the organ, so that was known as the sensory informations. So the brain, it can got the, it can receive the sensory information from the organs. okay, with the help of the nerves, or with the help of the spinal nerves, or with the help of the cranial nerves, or with the help of the sensory neurons. So then after that, whatever it gathered the information, so that message was integrated. Okay, it can give the solutions, read that message. According to that message, it can read the message and integrate and give the one solution in the form of the impulses or information. So that message is also delivered by a CNS. So with the help of the spinal cord, or with the help of the cranial, with the help of the endocrine hormones, or with the help of the many other nerves like autonomic, somatic, and nerves. So that message reaches to the organ. That is the main work of the central nervous systems or brain. Spinal cord, it is mainly, it can control the functions of the skeletal muscles. Okay, regarding contractions and relaxations properties of the skeletal muscle, that was only depending upon the spinal cord and it nerves like a spinal nerves. So in your body total we having the 31 pairs of the spinal nerves, and those nerves, so they are originated from the spinal cord, and spinal cord is the extended part of the brain. It can carries the message from the brain supplied to the spinal nerves, then spinal nerves supply to the skeletal muscles. So where skeletal muscles are present, so those are contracted and relaxed. Okay, then contraction relaxations of skeletal muscle, so that was helpful for the locomotions, or that was helpful for to regulate the skill activities, and also the inspiration and expiration or respiration simply, that is also depending upon the skeletal muscle contraction and relaxation. So that was mainly depending upon the skeletal muscles, or depending upon the spinal nerve or spinal cord, even the pharynx nerves. Okay, so like that, the spinal cord, it's play an important role in the regulations of the contraction and relaxation of skeletal muscle. So that properties of skeletal muscle was helpful for to regulate the locomotion, that is writing skill, reading skill, running, walking, sitting, standing, whatever the locomotors are there. So their whole locomotors of our body is mainly depending upon the contraction relaxation properties of the our skeletal muscle. And skeletal muscle function, it was mainly depending upon the spinal cord and spinal. So that is the work of the CNS. And regarding the PNS, so these are nothing but the nerves. Okay, so these are maybe cranial nerve, maybe spinal nerve, maybe adrenergic nerve, maybe cholinergic nerve, maybe somatic nerves or voluntary nerves, maybe enteric nerves. So these nerve fibers, so they are came from the or originated from the brain and inverted into the organs, and these nerves, so they are helpful for to create the certain connections, okay, between the brain and organ. So they acts like a wire. Okay, so they are helpful for to connect the organ, so that off with the brain. So brain is located in the skull and organ is located in a different part of the body. So their work under directions of the brain with the help of the communication that was created by a nerve or peripheral nervous system. So that's why the peripheral nervous system, it can play important role in that to create the coordinations or to create the connection between the different organs, so that of with the CNS. And the PNS also, it can include components like peripheral ganglia, nothing but the group of the nerves or neuron or junctions of the neurons in the peripheral nervous system apart from the CNS. So that was known as peripheral ganglia. So where two or more neurons, so they join together, so they form one junctions. So that junction was known as the peripheral ganglia. Okay, the help of the certain nerves. Okay, then as well as sympathetic and parasympathetic ganglia, nothing but the junctions of the sympathetic nerve fibers or the junctions of the parasympathetic nerve fiber, that was known as the sympathetic and parasympathetic ganglia. So that ganglia was, it can receive the message from one nerve and supply to the different nerve. They are present in that junction. Okay, it is having one input and many output, and many output, so they are inverted in the different organs. So according to that message, in the say all organ will be work in the same direction. So that message was gathered from the maybe peripheral ganglia, maybe sympathetic or parasympathetic ganglia. And PNS, it also include the enteric nervous system nerve fibers. So ENS or enteric nervous system, it mainly consists of special type of neurons. It consists of 100 millions of neurons, and also it consists of the enteric flexes. So these enteric nervous system, it mainly involved in the to control the functions of the GIT. So with the help of the neurotransmitter 5-HT. So enteric nervous system, its major function is it can regulate the GIT functions regarding the digestion, regarding the chemical, mechanical digestions, or regarding the secretions of the hormones, regarding the movement of the food from one part to the another part. That whole activities of GIT, whatever the functions they are present or belongs to the GIT or GIT organs, so those are regulated by the special nervous system or PNS, that was known as the enteric nervous system. So like that, our nervous system, it will be having the huge function. It can control or it can coordinate the all organ functions. So with the help of the brain, spinal cord, peripheral ganglia, sympathetic, parasympathetic ganglia, and as well as the enteric nervous system. So next we learn regarding the classifications of nervous system. So dear students, so here the nervous systems, once again it can classified or divide into two part, that is a central nervous system and second one is a peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is also denoted as CNS. In many times you only we are written the CNS in the books. CNS nothing but central nervous system, and it denote the related to the brain or spinal cord. Okay, CNS, it consists of the or organs comes under the CNS, or parts of CNS are the brain and its different parts as well as the spinal cord. Its major function is it was involved in the sensory formation or to gather the sensation from the organ, or also it is involved in the generations of the thoughts and idea, and also the CNS is involved in the regulations of the emotions. So whatever our emotions are there, so the whole emotions, so that was regulated or controlled by the CNS. Maybe abnormal emotions, maybe normal emotions, all the emotions. If your CNS is normal, you are healthy, your brain is free from the stress or depression or anxiety, then your all emotions are normal. If you are under the problem, your CNS under the problem, your emotions all are abnormal. So that's why the good emotions, that was regulated by the healthy CNS. So that's why always you should be free from the many disorders. Okay, so as well as the CNS is another main function is it can involve in the regulations of the memory. So our memory is regulated by the CNS, and our memory capacity is mainly depending upon the conditions of the CNS. Okay, so that's why if you want to improve your memory, still you can control on your brain or your CNS. You do not agitate, you do not shout, you do not worry, you do not anxiety unnecessarily. Anxiety is needed, fear is needed, okay, for healthy work or for to keep the brain in under the good condition. But if it is over, then all the functions are abnormal. So this is the main functions of the brain and spinal cord. They can receive the sensation from the organ and create the ideas, or that is the thoughts, and supply to the organs, and as well as they regulate the emotions and memory. Many functions are there. I only discuss here, or I highlighted only the important functions regarding CNS. And now regarding the second part of nervous system, that was the peripheral nervous system. It is also written as the PNS. And peripheral nervous system, it can consist of cranial nerves, spinal nerves, ganglia, the group of the nerves, and sensory receptors. So sensory receptors, so these are mainly present in the organs. whatever changes will be occurs in the organ that was detected by the sensory receptor, and it can make the message what changes is occurs. So that message can send to the brain with the help of the another group of neuron. So that was known as the sensory formations or sensory transmissions. So that neuron, those are involved in it to gather the information from organ sent to the brain, and those neurons are known as the sensory neurons. Okay, so sensory receptors is also the part of the peripheral nervous system or PNS. And once again, the PNS is subdivided into different system. That is the somatic nervous system. It is also written as the SNS. So this somatic nervous system, it is the voluntary nervous system. It controlled by some evil, okay, some power. Okay, so the functions of somatic nervous system is mainly depending upon the one power, one evil. So due to that, so this system was known as the voluntary system, and this system it's mainly consists of the two type of neurons. So first type of neurons, those are known as the sensory neuron, and second type of neurons, so those are known as the motor neurons. Okay, so sensory neurons, so their major function is, so they collect the information from the head, from the body wall, or from the limbs, from the eye, tongue, nose, or different part of the body, so where the skeletal muscles are present. Okay, sensory neurons of the somatic nervous system or voluntary system. So those neurons, so they carries the gather the information from the organs and supply to the CNS. Okay, for example, if someone, okay, if pin in your hand, okay, someone, if the pin in your hand or in the leg, so immediately you can withdraw your hand. Okay, if you are in the class, so immediately you can silently you can withdraw your hand. If you are out of the class or out of control your CNS, immediately you can shouting your classmates who can pin to you. Okay, so that shouting or silently withdrawing the hand, that was depending upon the CNS. If the CNS is your normal, then it told sir is in class. Immediately you can remove only the hand, and after the finishing of class, you hit to them, or you can shot to them. Okay, you can shout to them after the class because sir is in the class. Otherwise, the sir will be shout to me. Okay, like that, the informations was generated in the brain. If someone here pin here even in your hand, okay, so for the sensory receptor, so detect the changes. They convert the message. Some is itching here, some is pin here. Okay, so some is abnormalities is here. So that message is carried to the CNS or brain with the help of one group of neurons. So those are known as the sensory neuron. Sensory neuron means to gather the informations or changes in the organ and send to the brain. And brain is a involved in the integration and process. The brain is always, it can receive the information, involved in the integration, and as well as involved in the processing. What can do? So that message was generated here, that was told to you. Same time your eye can send message to the brain, sir is in the class is in the continuous way. Okay, the topic is important, there is no need to make the noise or to irritate the class to the teacher. Like that, your eye can told to see the teachers what the teachers are doing. Okay, so that message also reaches to the brain. Okay, then the brain is integrated message, sir is in class, simply you can withdraw your hand. So without your knowledge, so that hand can be withdrawn by the message from the brain that can reaches to the your hand. Okay, from the brain, if that message can reaches to your hand means then only your hand can withdraw. So that message reaches from brain to the organ. So that is the functions of the motor neuron. So motor neuron, so these are the one group of neurons. So these are carries the message from CNS to the skeletal muscles in the somatic nervous system, not in the other nervous system. Other nervous system is same, they carry towards the organs. In somatic nervous system, so they carry towards the skeletal muscles. And sensory neuron, they gather the information changes in the organ, okay, in the skeletal muscle, those inverted in the organ, and supply to the brain. Then brain get integrated, so that message was reaches to the another help of another neuron, so those neurons are known as motor to the organs as skeletal muscle. So like that, the somatic nervous system or SNS is mainly consists of compromise of the two type of neurons, sensory and as well as the motor neurons. And regarding the autonomic nervous system, it was known as the involuntary nervous system. It is not controlled by some power or some willpower, okay. So that's why, so it is known as the involuntary nervous system. And autonomic nervous system, main nervous system, it can control the, our brain can control the all organ functions by with the help of the ANS or autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system in our body, it is one of the main nervous system. Without ANS, the persons cannot be survive or the death is occurs. Okay. So next one, the ANS is subdivided into two systems, that is the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. And both system, they are also have the two type of nerves. There are sensory neurons and nerves, and as well as the motor neurons and motor nerves. Okay. For example, in sympathetic nervous system, those are known as the sensory sympathetic nerve fibers or motor sympathetic nerve fiber. Function is same. Sensory, they carry message from organ to the brain, and motor from brain to the organ. Regarding parasympathetic, they are known as the sensory parasympathetic nerve fibers and motor parasympathetic nerve fibers. And once again, the sympathetic nervous system is also known as the adrenergic nervous system, and the parasympathetic nervous system is also known as the cholinergic nervous system. And both systems are opposite, to work the opposite. One system increase the organ function and another system decrease the organ functions. For example, our heart rate. Okay, so this sympathetic nervous system, it responsible for to increase the heart rate, and the cholinergic nervous system or parasympathetic nervous system, it was responsible for decrease heart rate. So like that, CNS, so with the help of the ANS or with the help of the nervous system or peripheral nervous system, it can control the organ function through ANS. So that's why ANS in our body, it is the most important system, because all organs, so that was inverted by the ANS, and our nervous system or CNS, it can control the organ functions mainly depending upon the ANS. Each and every organs. For example, another function is eye. Okay, for to see the near vision, there is need to control by the parasympathetic nervous system. To see the near vision, that is the work of the activations of parasympathetic nervous system. To see the far vision, that is the work of the activations of sympathetic nervous systems. If any problem in the, to see the near vision means there is a problem in the parasympathetic nervous system. If any problem in the see the far vision or away images, pictures, that is the related to the malfunctions of the sympathetic nervous system. For examples, so those in your classmate itself, so those students are too intelligent, so their memory power is too sharp, they always having the soda glass, because for them there is no problem for near vision, near books, so they easily identify. Okay, but there is the problem in the to see the far vision. So due to, because where their sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system is more active, due to that only they having the more memory power. But in some cases, exceptional cases, their sympathetic nervous system is the malfunction. That is the, like that, the our organ function is mainly regulated by ANS. If ANS is normal means, and our all organ functions are the normal, so they work in the normal conditions or they maintain the normal physiology. So next one is the enteric nervous system. It is also denoted as the ENS. So this enteric nervous system, it mainly involved in the to control the functions of the GIT. Enteric nervous system, it consists of special 100 millions of neurons. So those 100 millions of neurons from the CNS or nervous system, so they are comes under the enteric nervous system. Only they concentrate on the to control the functions of the GIT, and GIT functions, so they are independently work, and also some functions, so they are regulated by the ANS, but maximum functions, so they are the independent. Okay, they work independently with the help of the that 100 millions neurons, so there comes under the enteric nervous system. And here the main neurochemical or neurotransmitter is the 5-HT. And here the sympathetic nervous system, the main neurotransmitter is the acetylcholine. And here the main neurochemical is the noradrenaline and adrenaline and isoprenaline, but here is the noradrenaline. Okay, and here in the somatic nervous system, the main neurotransmitter is the or neurochemical is the acetylcholine. So like that, so these are the neurotransmitters or neurochemicals comes under respiratory nervous system. So they are religious, so they can control the functions of the organ. So like that, our nervous system with the help of the CNS, peripheral nervous systems are so my SNS, ANS, ENS. So it is involved in the to control the functions of the our each and every systems or organs. So this is the main classifications of the nervous system. So now we concentrate regarding the or we can learn regarding the cells of the nervous systems. Okay, so because each and every organ it was made up of the cell, so like that our nervous system it is also consist of the cells. Okay, so nervous system it mainly consists of the two type of cell. One is the neurons. So these are the main. Okay, it can perform the all type of functions. That is the communications. That is those are known as the neurons. Okay, so our brain or CNS it will be having the billions of neurons. Okay, more than 100 billions of neurons. Okay, then as well as another cells they comes in nervous systems are glial cells or neuralgia. So these neuralgia or glial cells, so these are the special type of cells. So these are always help to the brain. It they are support, so they are protect the neurons or they can protect the nerve, but they do not have any different functions. They are the supporter for the neurons, and neurons are the main cell of the nervous systems. It can perform the or involved in the all type of the central nervous system functions. Okay, and here the nerve cells. Okay, so these are the are neuron. So these are the structural functional unit of nervous systems. Okay, so the neuron, so they will be having the special branches or processes. So those are called as the axon or dendrites. So these dendrites or axons, so they are play important role in the various functions. So dear students, the neuron, so they do not contain the centrosomes. Okay, in the neurons the centrosomes are absent, so due to that the neurons are not multiplied. Okay, so they are not multiplied. Only in the birth how many neurons are present means same up to death, the same numbers of neurons are present. So there is no multiplication, so there is no division. So that's why the old neurons cannot be replaced, because old neurons always or old cell is always replaced by after the divisions. But here in the neurons the centrosomes are not present. So due to that, so they are do not involved in the cell divisions. Okay, so the neurons, so they are mainly classified or categorized into three types, that are sensory neurons. So they are collect the information from the organ and send to the CNS. Okay, so collect the main information from the organ and send to the our CNS. That is the those neurons are known as the sensory neurons. Maybe PNS neurons, maybe ANS neurons, maybe NS neurons. So they are, if they are sensory means, so they always carries the message from organ and supply to the brain. So regarding the motor neurons, so they are convey the integrated message or information or impulses from CNS to the organ. Okay, brain can receive the message, and that message was integrated and supplied to the organs. That is the work of the motor neurons. Next one is the interneurons. So these are another type of neurons present in the CNS, comes under central nervous system. So these function is, so they can integrate and process the information. They collect the message from the sensory neuron, integrate it and process it, and resend to the organ with the help of the motor neuron. That is the work of the interneuron. Interneurons, so they are the intermediate neuron between the sensory and motor neuron. So they are helpful for to receive the message, integrate message, and resend to the different organs. Okay, these are the different types of the neurons or nerve cell. So neurons, so they're mainly classified into three types: sensory neurons, motor neurons, and interneurons. Sensory, gather from organ; motor, supply to organ; interneuron, whatever message came from sensory, integrate that, process that, resend it. That is the work of the interneurons. So next one, the glial cells or glue cells or neuralgia. So these are the helper cells. So these are support the brain, and also so these are support and protect the neurons. So once again, so they are four types. First one is the astrocytes. So these astrocytes, so they are filter the nutrition from the blood. That is the blood brain barrier. So already you heard our from the blood, each and every chemical do not enter in the brain. Okay, because so whatever the blood, it can enter towards the brain with the help of the internal external carotid artery. So they will be passed through a special type of layer that was known as the blood brain barrier. Okay, so that blood brain barrier is made up of the special type of neuralgia or glue cells or glial cells. Those are known as the astrocytes. Its major function is it can filter the nutritions from the blood. Okay, so whatever the molecules are there, so they are less than certain 40 to 100 dalton, for them only it can allow. The larger particles molecule, they do not enter in the CNS, because CNS, it will be having the huge vasculatures. Okay, small capillaries are there. If the large particle enter means, so they can stuck in the capillaries, then internal hemorrhage occurs or internal clotting is occurs. But the God made special provision for our head. So that was known as the blood brain barrier. It can filter the our nutrition from the blood, only the essential. So they are the micro in size, for them only it can allow, remaining it can be rejected, though are returned to the our systemic circulation, because our blood having the small particle micro as well as the large particle macromolecules. Proteins are macromolecules, remainings are glucose is macromolecules, but protein is the larger particles. If it is entering the brain means it can struck in the scapula, because the brain having the various microvasculatures, that is the huge microvasculatures, because among that is a 5 liter, the brain required the 1.8 liters per minute of the blood or cardiac output. So that much of blood is required. If the macromolecules enter means it can create the problem, but the God is made certain provisions like blood brain barrier with the help of astrocyte, and these astrocyte, they can support the brain by filtering the blood or filter the nutrition from the blood. And second type of glue cells or neuralgia, so those are known as the oligodendrocytes. So these type of cells, so they can wrap the axons. Okay, axon is the, that is the end part of the neurons. Okay, so this is the axon. So this axon is wrapped by a special type of cells. So those are known as the oligodendrocytes. Okay, and involved in the myelination. Myelination means the formations of the one protein layer on the axon. So that myelination or myelin sheath is required for to conduct the information from cell body to the axon or to the organ. The transmissions of the impulses or message that was generated in the nucleus of the neuron to towards the synaptic vesicles or end of the neuron. That is only depending upon the myelination. And myelination is formed under the influence of the oligodendrocytes. So that's why oligodendrocytes, it was involved in the regulations of the intelligence. Okay, for example, some students are there, if any teacher asks the question means immediately they answer it. Immediately sir ask the question, immediately there in the tongue they can answer it. And some people told to them, so this candidate having the good IQ, because immediately he can react the questions or react to the teacher or react to the situations, because so that person's having the good neuron, and in the neuron the myelination process is good, the myelin state is having the around neurons, and some students are there. Okay, so after he answering or that candidate was answering, he know that so this answer is already a no. Okay, or your brain is informed that this is the answer, this is the answer, but still you are not able to answer immediately. Oh, okay, so after that you are worrying, oh it is the this answer is already a no, already I read in the last time. Okay, I know, but immediately you are not react with, your reaction time is decreased, because you are, your neurons are not well myelinated. Okay, so that myelination around the axon, that was helpful for the transmissions of the impulses and towards, that is the nucleus to the end of the neuron. So this end of the neuron, it was inverted in the organs. Okay, what were the organ they control the speech, so that nucleus present in the CNS, its end part present on the tongue or in the ganglia. That message is created here, sir ask question, your ear is hear that question, and that message reaches to the brain integrated, this is the answer. Immediately that can reaches to your tongue with the help of the axon, if it is well myelination. If it is not well myelination, then the answer is delay, so then your IQ was less. Okay, that was the IQ or a that was mainly dependent on myelination, and myelination is mainly dependent on oligodendrocytes, and myelination process is mainly depending upon the our thyroid hormones. So that's why now the government was added, that is a iodine containing salt, because that iodide is helpful for the formations of thyroid hormones, and thyroid hormones, so they are required for the myelination. They insist that these cells along with these cells, so those are involved in the synthesis of myelin protein, that protein is required for the formations of the myelin cell. That is the requirement, or that is the functions of the thyroid hormones. And here is the oligodendrocyte, they are involved in the to wrap the axon and involved in the synthesis of myelin proteins, that was required for the myelinations of the axons. So next one is the microgia. So these are is another type of a glue cells or neuralgia. So these are work like a WBC. So already you know the functions of WBC. The WBC, they are the defense commanders. Okay, so when the foreign particles, especially microorganisms or antigens, viruses, bacteria are came into our body, so these WBC are fight. So already you know that immunoglobulin IgM. Okay, so this IgM was helpful for to kills the coronavirus. Already you hear. Okay, that is the plasma transplant or transport from one person to another. Already those patient recovery from the COVID, so their blood having the rich of IgM, if their plasma given to the new COVID patient, means that COVID patient recover within 4 to 5 days, because already that patient's body, recovering patient's body having the good IgM. IgM is what is that? IgM is the component of WBC, because beta lymphocytes are type of WBC, and beta lymphocytes, they are secret the immunoglobulin like IgM. Okay, so like that the WBC, they are involved in the invading of the microorganisms, and same functions was performed by the neuralgia type cell, that is the microgia, that is the microglue or microgilia. So this type of cell, it is work like a WC. So these are also invade the microorganisms, so those are comes under the CNS from the circulations. Okay, if they are enter from the circulation, mean immediately they are removed from circulation due to presence of the defense mechanism in the CNS with the help of the glue cells or microgia. That is the functions of the microgia. They work like a WBC. So another type of the neuralgia is the ependymal cells. So these major function, once again, they filter the blood and to produce the CSF, that is the cerebrospinal fluid. So this fluid, the special type of fluid, so they are present in the different cavities of the brain. So the brain mainly having the four cavities. Okay, those are known as the ventricles. So not related to the heart. These ventricles are different. Okay, brain having mainly four ventricles or four cavities. So those are known as the ventricles. These ventricles, so they are filled with the special type of the fluid. So that fluid was known as the cerebrospinal fluid. Its function is it can nourish the brain. It can supply continuously nutrition to the brain, or it can act as a shock absorber or heat absorber, or it can prevent the chemical and physical or mechanical injury to the brain tissues. The work of the spinal fluid. So they are mainly present in the four ventricles. So these four ventricles, they are known as the anterior ventricular, posterior ventricular, third ventricular, and fourth ventricle. Like that, the four ventricle they are named anterior ventricle, posterior ventricle, then third ventricle, and fourth ventricle. So these are the nothing but cavity. So they are present in the brain. They are filled with a special type of the fluid that was known as cerebrospinal fluid. That fluid was formed from the these epidermal cells or neurological cells during the filtrations of the blood, and that fluid is present in the ventricle as well as the spinal cord. So these major function is they acts as a shock absorber or heat absorber, and also they involved in the neurosis the brain or avoid the dryness of the brain and spinal cord, and also continuously they supply the nutrition because the compositions of cerebrospinal fluid is similar to the blood. It is also rich of inorganic and organic materials or substances that whenever the brain is required, then they are supplied by the CSF. Main function neurosis and protect the chemical as well as physical injury and mechanical injury towards the spinal cord and as well as the brain. Okay, any inflammation in the cerebrospinal fluid, that was known as the meningitis. Okay, next one. So regarding the structure of neurons, so this is a typical structure of neuron. So like other cells, so neurons is also in the cell body. Okay, that was also consist of cytoplasm. So that was consist of large nucleus. It is center of controlling system like another cells. And neurons are the basic and structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Okay, it is also consist of special branches or processes. So those are known as the dendrites. The dendrites nothing but special branches. Okay, in some neurons they are present, in some neurons they are absent. So their special branches they are known as the dendrites, and these dendrites, so they are mainly helpful for to communications with the another neuron. So one neuron, it can communicate with the another neuron, so with the help of the dendrites. So one neuron cell dendrite which can attach with the another neurons of the dendrites, then they are involved in the communications or transmissions of the messages. And these dendrites, they are also contain the nasal granules. Okay, so they also contain nasal granules and as well as the neurofibrils. It is was helpful for the certain movements. And also the cell body, it also consists of large nucleus at the center of the cell. It is involved in the integrations of messages. Then as well as it consists of mitochondria. Okay, also present in the this cytoplasm of the neuron, that is also acts as a powerhouse. Okay, and as well as it consists of Golgi apparatus. It was involved in the processing and packaging of the certain proteins or substance into granules. And so this cytoplasma or cell body of the neuron, they do not contain ribosomes. Instead of ribosomes, they contain the nasal granules or nasal bodies. And these nasal bodies, like a ribosome. So these are also depending involved in the synthesis of the proteins. And neurofibrils, so they are helpful for to provide the frame or shape or to maintain the shape of the neuron, framework of the neuron, or it can support the neurons. Okay, nasal bodies, so they are similar to the ribosome. So these are also involved in the synthesis of the proteins. And the number of nasal bodies in the cell body of neuron is mainly depending upon the mental status. If you are under the anxiety stress, the number of nasal bodies decreases. We are taking the good sleep, good relaxation, automatically the number of nasal body is increases. Then you are free from the fatigue or CNS problems or headache. If you are not a take the good sleep and good relax, then number of nasal body decreases and protein synthesis in the neuron is also decreases. Then only we are suffering from the headache and as well as the body pain and fatigue. And nasal bodies, they are similar to the ribosomes. And regarding the nucleus or neuron, they do not contain centrosomes, that's why, so they do not involved in the cell divisions. Okay, so in the neurons, it is mainly made of three parts. One is the nerve cell body, is consist of all organs similar to normal cell. Then dendrites, so they are branches, they are helpful for communicate with another neurons. And next one is the axon, that is terminal. So this is an axon, so they act as the stores for the chemicals. Those are synthesis in the here. What are the chemicals are synthesis here? They are stored in the here. So those are known as the neurotransmitters. So when they are required, that message from the cell body nucleus reaches to the axon or synaptic nerve, then only so these are releases the neurotransmitters. And nucleus is present in the CNS and axon is inverted in the organs. Okay, the nucleus is present in the CNS. Okay, and its axon and its synaptic terminal or synaptic nerve, it is present in the near the ganglia or receptor or near the organs. So like that, any changes in the ear message that reaches through the axon with the help of the myelin sheath and towards the synaptic nerve. Then only synaptic nerve they can release the respected chemicals. According to that only the organ functions can be modified or regulates. This is regarding the neurons. So next one. So regarding type of neurons, so neurons are mainly classified into four types. That is the on the basis of arrangements of the processes. That is the dendrites. That is the first one known as the anoxonic neurons. So they will be having the multi processes, but defined axon is not present. It can mix up with the dendrites, and such neurons are known as the anoxonic neurons. So they are mainly found in the brain as well as the sense organ. Next one is the bipolar neurons. So they having the two process and one cell body. Okay, it is the cell body and these are the process. They having the two processes and such neurons are known as the bipolar neurons. So these are mainly found in the special sensory organs like eye, ear, tongue. Okay, so their major function is so they involve the regulations of sight, smell, and as well as the hearing. The next one is the unipolar neuron. So they only having the one process but elongated process. Okay, like that, here it is a cell body and it will be having the only one process, that is the dendrites. Another one is the synaptic terminals and such neurons are known as the unipolar neurons. So they are found in the peripheral nervous systems. Next one is the multipolar neurons. So they will be having the multi-processing like a anoxonic neuron, but defined axon. The axon was separated, well separated. But in the here in the anoxonic neuron, the axon is not separated. But here in the multipolar neuron, so they are well separated, well differentiated, and such neurons are known as the multineuron. They having the different dendrites, and these multipolar neurons, so they are mainly found in the CNS and as well as skeletal muscle motor neuron. So these are the different types of the neurons. So next one is regarding the that is the anatomy and physiology of brain. So brain, it is the main organ. It was located in the skull and its continuation part is a spinal cord in the, it can inverted in the inside the vertebral columns through a foramen magnum of the skull. Okay, and extended part of the brain was known as a spinal cord. So normal weight of the brain is, that is 1250 gram to 1650 gram. And the brain, it mainly consists of the certain tissues or covered certain layers, so those are known as the meninges. So they are covered by the three layer, that is the outer layer is known as the dura mater, and the mid layer it is known as the arcuate matter, and last inner layer that was known as the pia matter. And the space between arcuate matter and pia matter, that was known as the subarachnoid matter. So like that, so our brain, it consists of the three layer. The outer layer is known as the dura matter, and the mid layer it was known as the arcuate matter, and the inner layer that was known as the pia matter. And between, that is so this arcuate matter and pia matter, that space was known as the subarachnoid space. So that space is also filled with the fluid, so that fluid is known as the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so cerebrospinal fluid is present between the pia matter and that is arcuate matter, or in the region of the subarachnoid space. And this CSF here, it is acts as a shock absorber or heat absorber, and also it can prevent the overextended of the brain. So due to more work, more stress, the brain can be extended, or the heat was more generated in the brain, so that was, maybe that was responsible for the damage of the blood vessel. But that was not possible up to when we are having the good cerebrospinal fluid. So this is acts as the shock absorber, it can absorb the shock. Otherwise, if it is fail means, then the brain vessels can be damages. Okay, so due to damage of blood vessel in the brain, the internal hemorrhage can be occurs, then that part of the brain was fail, then the failure of that part, death may be occurs. Okay, for example, if here clot is occurs in the regions of the pons, suppose you think, then the respiration was failed, because pons only they are involved in the to regulate the inspiration and expiration, because the respiratory centers are present in the pons as well as in the medulla oblongata. If clot is occurs here due to excess generation of heat and failure of absorptions of heat by cerebrospinal fluid, then that part was malfunction or damages or causes internal hemorrhage. So due to that, that part was failed, the death which the occurs, or the persons can comes under the coma. And regarding the features, the brain, it can utilize the 20% of total oxygen input in our body. Okay, whatever oxygen you are taken, among, if you need daily 100 ml of oxygen means, among 20 ml that was only it is required for the brain. Okay, so the glucose in the rest condition, the brain is required the glucose about 120 gram out of 160. Our whole body in the resting positions, in the normal conditions, our daily intake of glucose should be, or needed glucose for our body is 160 gram. And among 160 gram, 120 gram glucose it is required by only brain. So that's why the brain is always required the glucose. So that's why you people during the examination, you always preferring the glucose to improve your concentrations. Always you having the glucagon, okay, or glucon d pocket in your home, so that that powder was mixed with the water, you can take it regular drinking purpose. And also you having the gulkand in your home, during the examination you are preferring gulkand to improve the brain concentration, because the brain continuously it can require the glucose. If you are we are rest means, so what it is required 120 gram out of 160, remaining of the part of the brain only they can require the 40 gram, but only our brain it can require the 120 gram of the glucose. And regarding the circulation, the brain is a highly perfused organs as compared to the other organs. It was required, that is the 1800 ml that is 1.8 liter per minute. That is the of the cardiac output. It is required around, that is the 1800 ml of blood per minute or per cardiac outputs. Okay, that's why the brain is known as the highly perfused organ. It is continuously it can require the oxygen along with the nutrients, especially glucose. So regarding the parts of brain, the brain is mainly divided into three parts. That is the forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. The forebrain is also known as the proencephalons, and proencephalon once again subdivided into two parts. That is the teleencephalon, then diencephalon. Then teleencephalon consists of cerebral hemisphere or cerebral cortex, basal ganglia, hippocampus, amyloid nucleus. So these all are involved in that to regulate the memory or many other functions. Then diencephalon, it includes the brain parts like a thalamus. Thalamus is known as the relay station. Hypothalamus, it is the consist of ANS. With the help of ANS, it is the part of hypothalamus. It can regulate the function of the all body functions. And metathalamus, subthalamus, and pineal gland. So pineal gland, it can secrete the hormone melatonin, and that melatonin is required for the regulations of the circadian rhythm or biological clock. Okay, next the second part, midbrain, also known as a mesencephalon. It consists of the brain parts like a substantia nigra and other red nuclei. Substantia nigra, whatever the coordinations are there, whatever the emotions are there, whatever the cognitive powers or recurring powers are there, or motor skills are there, that all was regulated by the substantia nigra. Red nuclei, it was play an important role in the inspiration and coordinations. Then the third part of the brain is known as hindbrain. It is also known as the rhombencephalons. Okay, it once again it is divided into two parts: metaencephalon, myelencephalon. So metaencephalon consists of pons and cerebellum, and myelencephalon consists of the medulla oblongata. Because these are the different parts of the brain. In the next forthcoming classes, we will be discuss the one by one of the different parts of the brain, or okay, like a